Just wanted to get that in there so it doesn't have like a weird cut.
You already said it, so that doesn't count.
Fix it in post.
Fix it in post.
I love a good bit. Lion face, raw. Lion face, raw.
Well, I'm mukbang ASMR.
A little something for everybody. It's like, it's not kind of that kind of video.
It is now.
I wasn't recording.
You weren't recording.
Right. I was recording.
Also, loot for magic items and stuff.
Yes. Could do that. Might not loot. Who am I kidding? I absolutely would.
Both Kazzra and Campbell would.
I was this close to saying I want to look through the underwear drawer of the dead lord.
The charisma crew will take care of this stuff for you. You're good.
To all my adoring fans, greetings! It is I, Kazzra the Persistent, here again to grace you all with my presence and diligent retelling of last week's adventures, for we strive into this week's. Last time, we stood over the vanquished ashes of our foe Marcus, and held at sword point the divine warrior Karis. Will, little overreactionary in my opinion, questioned the nearly dead Karis with threats of imminent death if he was not forthcoming with answers to questions related to the bad craziness that had just befallen the town. Meanwhile, we searched for what we could, granting us more questions than answers in this unraveling yet seamlessly endless tapestry of power grabs, ancient lore, and modern-day intrigue that we were further becoming ensnared within. Who or what was this Yathan mentioned on Marcus's pendant? What vital clues and information was robbed from us by the death of Rodri? And would we be on a list of known heretics for murdering a goodly paladin in the town square? To top it all off, these pesky memories continue to flood our minds, this time leading to inter-party strife as I witnessed murderous intent flare in the eyes of Pertinax as he almost turned on and attacked our paladin Will for reasons that we all have yet to fully understand. Thankfully, we were able to end things without more bloodshed, make peace with Karis, and take our investigation and the body of Rodri back towards his estate. While Silver City is our next major destination, our time in this quaint town has yet to conclude. Perhaps upon our arrival at the Lord's Manor, we will be able to gain a brief respite and search for more answers in our quest to uncover more about the broken world.
So as we pick up in the aftermath of this very crazy morning, you have arrived a little bit ago at the governor's house, essentially. At Rodri Serral's residence, which is, Jessamine informs you, it belongs to the Serral family and the head of the Lowlands Council, the families that have lived in the Ellis Lowlands for a long time. It is, the House Serral has always been sort of the head of those families, and happily so. And Rodri's been laid down on a stone platform in the garden. Boulder is performing a sort of last rites that is, on its surface, Austrian, but is also, it's less about forgiveness and things like that you have heard, that you had heard Karis give previously. And these rites are more about gently laying a spirit into its final repose and chosen path of whether that spirit intends to move to the beyond or retake form. Jessamine will just kind of sotto voice explain to you that some of the druidic orders follow old beliefs of reincarnation. Some of that is carried over into the Order of the Moon. The communion doesn't have any one sort of specific prescribed afterlife. It's more you either go to good places if you were good or a bad place if you were bad. Is really more of what they're concerned about, whether you're moving into the realms of light or the realms of dark. And that is because the communion is its foundation. It's one institution now, but it's a foundation of several different small religions banded together, which is why it's referred to as the communion. So that took place a little bit ago. You all have had the opportunity to have a short rest, clean up, have some food. Those of you who can eat, Jessamine's not particularly eating, but she's kind of taking charge. The staff know her. And she's kind of taking charge of the situation and getting the household settled and very much channeling grief through action. And has brought, had a light repast brought up to you. She just opens the door to the library and just gives you full access to the library. And she has said she's writing a note too. She kind of rubs her forehead. She's like, I really just want to send him a message, but he's too far. I'm just going to send a pigeon. And just goes to Rodri's kind of study and, goes to take care of that. So you four, she's essentially just left you to your own devices within the library. So first we'll get everybody settled in and discuss things, and then we'll move on to sort of your research portion, in which will have investigation rolls. So let's...
One quick thing, as we're sort of preparing, and there's some, Will is just sort of almost not humming to himself, but just sort of humming a tune, clearly with intending to be heard, but not to be obtrusive, not to be distracting, but to be, resolute, right? While recognizing that the tragedy has happened, something sort of impromptu, perhaps in that moment. As before, Jaxiron gets heroic inspiration. I think the question is, in the moment, does Pertinax receive heroic inspiration from this, what is transpiring?
Pertinax is so annoyed at what you're doing because Pertinax also really likes to make music and is really enjoying your humming and is not just trying to tune it out, actually. So probably not.
Fair enough.
So Kazzra loves to study in silence, so when they start humming, my eye, the light in it starts to twitch, but I calm myself and realize this is the norm, and I need to learn to accept the sound and try to make it part of the background that allows me to still concentrate and evolve a bit.
So you're all here. Is there anything anyone wants to say about what happened as you're all sort of processing? Some toasted bread, some cheese, some cured sausages and fruit, and tea has been brought in for you.
Is it just the four of us in here?
It is just the four of you in there.
Okay. And as I remove my mask and grab and eat a hunk of cheese the traditional way with mouth and teeth rather than shoving it into an eye socket, I look to the group and put my mask back on. Understandably, we are all linked somehow through our past in ways that we do not understand. However, hopefully in this library we can find some clues, or at least find a path towards reconciling that. I believe we're all aligned that whatever political issues or strange God-bothering nonsense is involved in this Templar business, it should not remove us from our current trajectory. And that as much as we might want to become involved in helping this town and its people in these problems until their problems become our problems, I still have a major one. I do not remember my past, and I still don't know why I woke up almost less than a day ago, more than a day ago, not too long ago, without shoes in a coffin. Are we all aligned in that thinking and our goal, or is there an adjustment? Because we are all intrinsically linked for the moment, whether or not we want to go separate ways. I do not believe that that is something that we should do, like we discussed back in the camp. So, do we all still think that this should be our momentum forward, figuring out our past, or?
Given the current state of, and what we've been told of politics as it stands, and the complications that today has unfurled, I don't disagree that our past is linked to this. However, I don't think our past will necessarily tell us any more about... The past is the past, is essentially what I'm getting at. Yes, knowing what happened is relevant, but perhaps more relevant is the agents of change that are actually in motion today. And in finding out more of that, I suspect, again, by virtue of where we were found and the nature of the conditions that unearthed us, our past will become evident one way or the other. So I don't disagree with your plan, but I do think we should adjust the goal. That the machinations of whatever lurks in the shadows behind these people, you saw as we came here, no one in this town, or everyone in this town, loved this man. I do not believe, if anyone here even has information about our past, even insofar as what Rodri himself had said, I think it will only be valuable in the context of why these people are working in the shadows as it relates to that past, more than what the past is itself.
You have suspicions that somehow these things are all linked into something greater.
At the risk of sounding philosophical, everything is. But more to the point, I don't think it coincidental that we wake up in what seems to be ritual chamber of some kind, surrounded by experiments and equipment designed to extract some kind of seemingly toxic energy to most living beings. And that we were woken by people who oppose those who were conducting the experiments. And those same people have some degree of connection to whatever has transpired here today.
Hopefully, Rodri's books will tell us a little bit more on the subject, but I'm leaning towards what you're saying as being quite possible. I don't believe in sort of happenstances like this occurring just out of the whims of the cosmos. And there is something that I seem to find interconnected. Some might say that makes me paranoid, but paranoia is a very comforting state of mind, because if you think they're out to get you, it means you think you're important. And I certainly do.
You think you're important, or you think everyone's important?
Well, if other people think that they are not important, that is up to them. But I personally feel that I have worth, and that worth is, well, of importance to somebody to keep locked in a stone sarcophagus in a ritual chamber for who knows how many years, possibly thousands, possibly more, possibly the end of continents as we knew it, in shifting lands, boiling seas, and then an apocalypse, and then a new civilization. I haven't the slightest. But I'm starting to recover it.
Pertinax is ignoring all of you, by the way, and is just over there going through books.
I don't think that I'm important, or certainly not any more important than the people in the square who all just died. And I'll be honest with you that I don't have your knowledge, Kazzra. I don't have even the knowledge that you feel like you have in this sort of limited, memoryless, diminished state. Jaxiron, I don't have your wisdom and your ability to see the big picture. I know that a lot of people just got killed, and I don't know why. And I want to stop that from happening again. I want to not see innocents die. And whatever that was can't happen again. And that's all I know.
Pertinax, I'm going to need to give me a wisdom save.
Yeah, those books, pages riffling, are getting really loud. An 8, great.
Oh.
I think this snaps the control you have on your temper. And I think what that looks like is going to be up to you.
Kind of turns around and looks at Will and kind of slams his hand down on the table. This is something you've always thought, huh?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I'm sure not. Who are the wizards of the Desert Winds?
I don't know. Do you?
It was established, very quickly, it was established that Kazzra is probably part of that. That was something Rodri had told all of you, that it was an old wizard order.
Okay.
I don't, we know the same things about these wizards.
All I know is I remembered something earlier, and I think I remembered you.
Okay. Well,
and it wasn't
clearly I did something to upset you or offend you in that past.
Possibly killed half of my community, yeah. I understand you probably don't have any memory about it, and maybe it wasn't you.
Maybe it was. I hope it wasn't. I don't know who that person was.
Well, I think it was also a memory that helped me realize that whoever I was before, I'm still more of that person than I had realized. Which might be something that's really bothering me now, in case that was you. So I think I would like to learn more about our pasts. I think that is actually very important right now, and I think it might have a lot of bearing on what's going to happen in the future.
I don't know how we ended up in those boxes. I just genuinely don't know how we ended up there or why we ended up there. And I will certainly agree with you all that if you believe there's merit into digging into our pasts, by all means, let's do so. I can't speak for the three of you. I will not be a slave to that past. I will not be beholden to whatever I had done in the past. If I or my countrymen, my allies, slaughtered innocents, if we provoked if we were anything like the man down in the square calling up all manner of darkness from the ground, that was something that I may have to pay penance for in some form, and I would welcome that. But I will not repeat those actions. That's... No.
What about Amator? Do you know this name?
Out of character, I don't think that the name actually was the name. Did the name come up in the memory? I forget.
A monitor, yes.
It did come up.
That's the statue you were looking at.
I can't read my own handwriting.
But the name was in. Will heard the name in character.
Will heard the name in character.
Okay, great. Sorry. Yes, the name is familiar. It's a sun god of some kind. I believe it was important to my people.
So from my memory, what happened to my village was, I believe, perpetuated by followers of this god.
Oh.
I don't know all of the circumstances. I have some suspicions, but I can't pin my feelings on things I haven't remembered yet. Maybe we can find out more about this god and things that happened in the past. I don't know that my little community is anything that would have ranked being written about in these books, but I do know that what happened in my memory was something that had not at that point happened before. It was an unprecedented attack.
I certainly appreciate the modesty, but your people were important. These people were important. Yes, Kazzra, you're important too. Life is important. And we'll figure out what happened and not use that past as shackles, hopefully, right? But we have the opportunity to say we know more, right? We can make better decisions now than perhaps we had in the past, or make up for bad decisions we've made in the past. So hopefully we can do better. I can do better.
Let's see if we can learn anything.
Right. On that, I want everybody to think of 2 or 3 things that you want to look up, and we're going to make some investigation checks. Let's start with Kazzra. What's the first thing you're looking for?
The first thing that I want to look up is High Wizards of the Desert Winds.
Go ahead and give me investigation.
+5 is Dirty 20.
Dirty 20. All right.
Dirty 20.
What you locate is a very almost dishearteningly slim volume. So you see a passage in what is essentially an exploration journal it's a thing called Forgotten Civilizations. And there's a couple chapters which is largely theorizing. And so you see that there's mention of though they're past the desert spoken of in pre-cataclysm accounts we can gain from the remnants of temple walls and various inscriptions. Their desert has long since been reclaimed by forest and farmland and swampland. But there's something to be said for this order whose title appears again and again throughout these temple inscriptions of great past leaders having come from the High Wizards of the Desert Wind, of being, world leaders impactful in different civilizations. We see this group of wizards mentioned in ruins all throughout civilization, through the Empire and even up in the Dales. We see the Kingdom of the Sky even boasts to have the most complete temple complex known to have theorized to have belonged to the High Wizards of the Desert Wind. We owe our calendar system to them. We owe many of our recovery of scientific discovery post cataclysm to the High Wizards of the Desert Wind. We owe our astronomy to them. We owe alchemy, our knowledge of alchemy. We know they were a great and powerful order of wizards who accomplished mighty, mighty things. Their disappearance within the cataclysm, wherever those wizards went, we don't know if their order was entirely destroyed in the cataclysm, as so many civilizations were. We simply do not know where they disappeared to, and that is one of history's most pervasive mysteries. We owe what knowledge and discovery carried forward through the chaos after the cataclysm. They owe to what was left of recordings by the Wizards of the Desert Wind.
Copy.
Because they had a fondness for inscribing in stone.
I take the book. It's small. You said it's a very small volume. So.
Will, what are you looking for?
I don't have Kazzra's... Will doesn't have Kazzra's knowledge. Certainly doesn't have his research acumen. But Will knows people. Will knows people pretty well generally. He knows that sometimes the most important things are what is tucked away, what's hidden away. This is a big library. There's a lot of books. So he's looking around for what someone wouldn't want to have on the shelves whenever their guest's over, right? What volumes are tucked away potentially? What things are maybe for someone of Robert's position? What books are considered heretical? Like what books would he not want to have out for polite company? And those are the books that he's going to focus on. Those are the things he wants to know, is not what the story is, right? Because so often history is written by the victors, right? And I think demonstrably there was some form of victory taken, given all of the prominence of all the solar imagery. So yeah, he's going to look for the books that maybe you don't want to have out for polite company.
I'm going to say go ahead and roll investigation.
Lol. Sure. I mean,
you can make a case for another.
15, baby.
15 is good enough.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it probably occurs to you to search the desk in the library, like what looks like a work desk in the library.
Sure.
And in the bottom drawer, it's not locked, but you find
that's a solvable problem if it is. But
you find a couple volumes of actually what look like journals. They're just they're unlabeled, plain leatherback books, and it's very clear handwriting.
Hopefully these are research journals and not like his personal diary. Dear diary, today I met these nice adventurers, and they definitely won't need to be getting killed.
Yeah, you can see that he actually was doing some research into. It was just sort of a hobby of his. It seems like. Because he dated his entries and stuff in the journal, and it's really hodgepodge here and there when he did this. And it seemed to be sort of a pet project of his.
I never thought that would happen to me. But
piece together. He had a specific interest in pre-cataclysm history. And particularly in locating primary sources, which is noted in several places in this journal. It's incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
Paper
rots.
What's that?
Paper rots.
Yeah, paper rots. I thought you said ziggurats, and I'm like,
also those probably. I don't know Kazzra's people. I'm not,
probably some somewhere.
Not claiming to understand his culture.
I've only seen the inside of buildings in my memories, not the outside.
Well, yeah, maybe ziggurat folk.
It's a lot of complaints about copper and the quality thereof.
Take off every zig.
Who's this guy? Anne is here. So, sorry, that's a very deep Sumerian cuts there. So, yeah, and in this, he was also very interested in pre-cataclysm faith scholarly pursuits is not looked on as like heretical. And it might be a topic that was kind of like looked askance at by the communion if it was like, hey, we need to resurrect this faith.
Yeah.
But actual research into the past is not something that is outlawed within the communion.
People look down their nose at it, though, because that implies that the current faith is not the true faith.
Well,
right?
There's not exactly. There is the acknowledgement of the communion. You can find this in Rodri's notes as well. There's the acknowledgement within the communion that their faith is based on a conglomerate of much older light faiths.
Mm-hmm.
And that the core tenet is that they are not different. That they all sort of worship the same source of light in different forms.
Sure.
And a lot of this came from the one they considered the prophet and the savior, Eos Tirith, who was an astronomer by study. And even in Rodri's notes that even Eos said, the light from the moon is a reflection of the sun, and the stars in the sky are distant suns with worlds of their own.
That's a hell of a thing.
And
the pinpricks in the sky are the same as our sun. Okay.
And in Eos, that was his, before the war against the Beast of Chasms, that's what he studied, was astronomy.
Yeah.
He was of the Order of the Stars. And
I mean, was there an Order of the Stars then?
He is what he called himself, of the Order of the Stars.
Yeah.
Whatever other name there was before that is lost to history, or scrubbed. And you also gather from Rodri's notes that the Serral family is very much responsible for upkeep of a I'm going to put it on the map here in the Ellis Lowlands. There's a town called Sarmarin, and Sarmarin is where the Tirith family is from. It's where Eos Tirith was born. It's where he was raised. So it's very much, it's one of the communion's sort of holy sites within the town. The town gets a lot of religious tourism and things like that. And what's left of the Tirith family is, the Tirith family name has weight within, but they're not like major power players outside of the communion. And very few of them live in the lowlands anymore, and they're completely content to let the Serral family kind of run operation of that site. So previously in the past, the communion has like stayed out of the lowlands way. So that's in there. But there's some notes of some rising tension there. As the Tiriths continue to decline, the communion is shifting more towards the radical element within its own political structure. So if you want to know something specific about Rodri had a specific interest in the wizards, and so he has assimilated a lot of data in his notebook, and he does note here some research by some scholars that indicates ancient battlefields, and that there seems to have been some kind of conflict involving the High Wizards of the Desert Wind and their allies, and the Temple of the Lightbringers, which is the progenitor of the Order of the Sun. And he's theorizing there. There's nothing directly to link, but there's a lot of similarities between the Temple of the Lightbringers and who worshipped a Monitor, and the Order of the Sun. There's some similarity there. That's probably, in the interim, they weren't, even when they were brought under the umbrella of the communion, that's not what they were referred to as there seems to have been and he's theorizing that it had something to do with this conflict. And he's like, he notes that it's difficult to tell if they were allies of the wizards. It's difficult to tell who was with who, because these are ancient battlefields. And you note specifically that he says these battlefields are 3,000 to 4,000 years old.
Quick clarifying question. I think we had said previously that the Cataclysm was 5,000 or so years old. Do I have that right? About 5,000 years old?
I know that we were in year 568.
I did math the wrong way. So these battlefields are they're approximately close to pre-Cataclysm age. Like
okay, around the Cataclysm. They're
around the Cataclysm. They also show signs of theorize that they happened before the Cataclysm, but maybe not long, because there's a lot of damage.
Yeah. Cataclysms do be like that. Yeah, that tracks.
Which I don't know. None of you have actually looked up what the Cataclysm was.
I'm assuming that it's not the sort of thing that one talks about, and that's maybe one of the things I was hoping to dig up. But yeah, Will is going to stay focused on this, but we'll remark, like, we actually don't know much about the Cataclysm, and spend sort of the remainder of the time essentially books that he is referring to in these entries. He's going to go grab those off the shelf and put them in a pile. And that's how he'll sort of help the larger research effort, is to help say, like, these are the books that Rodri found important on this subject, and grab those, and then let other folks contribute in their own ways.
Awesome.
Pertinax, what are you looking for?
First off, I am grudgingly appreciative of Will's efforts right now. Not too grudgingly. We've had our talk, and I have understood I can't be mad until we learn more. Really, I can be uneasy, but I can't be mad until we learn more. An interesting thing from that memory was being called captain, and actually looking at, do we know anything about anything from this time? Are there any notable people? I don't necessarily think. He's not necessarily trying to find himself in a history book, but maybe this is, there clearly there were some kinds of armies, regiments, or something that there are arrangements of these things. And so maybe trying to look into, now that we have kind of an idea of, this was around 5,000 years ago, this was probably right before the Cataclysm, to see what we can find from that time, if there's any information like that might be a clue as to where he's from or any of this.
Yeah, go ahead and give me your investigation roll. With an 11, I'll say what you can find is a lot of theory on lost civilizations. Some seems credible based in, like, there's like sketches of ruins and things like that, and some seems really outlandish. Like there was a great and wondrous civilization that was the progenitor of all people, that rose on this giant tree from the middle of the ocean and all this sort of stuff. And not a lot of actual evidence, and actual conjecture on what those civilizations were and who was who. There's some that echoes what Will has found in Rodri's journals about certain orders that where some stuff has been preserved, where there's very clear evolution of symbology. And it also seems to depend on where in the world these things were. Ellis, in particular, the Ellis lowlands, other than the coastal regions, seems to have been very good at kind of basically being a point of survivors, and being a bastion of civilization in chaos. And there's also, there's there's not a lot there. There's a lot of hunting, so there's not a lot of specific this army of this empire or this of this. So it's not, you don't find anything very clear.
Is there any area in the library that doesn't have bookshelves where there's just like some clear stretch of wall?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to start pinning things up there. I'm going to find some string. Just going to start a little wall going. Just a little weirdo investigation wall.
Who is Pepe de Silva?
Exactly.
Yes. All right. Jack,
beautiful mind.
What are you looking for?
The first thing I want to go looking for is records about what I know as the Great Tree. So a lot of his memories that we've already seen, and just in general, like his, even for as little as his, memory has in it, like the things that keep sticking out are like this massive tree that, was a kind of a fixture in his culture, whether it be for religious reasons or just simply that it was, the refuge that the rest of the village kind of grew up around. He's, if this really is our world, like what happened to it? Is it still there? Just to try and find out like what we're talking about the past. So let's try and make a connection to that strong point of the past.
Describe this tree for me real quick before I make you make an investigation roll.
Yeah. So think of like the biggest, redwood that you've ever seen or seen pictures of, like the ones that they drove cars through and that kind of thing. Now multiply that by 10. Like this thing is as large or as tall, as a mountain and as wide around as a skyscraper. But it's not like it, part of its height is not that it's like it grows up from just a central trunk. It is this canopy sort of web of these large, roots that have all kind of sprawled out to create this, safe haven underneath it. It is growing either in or adjacent to a cliff face. There are caves and that kind of thing that are part of that, its ecosystem. And it's one of the interesting things about it that he definitely remembers is it changes color with the seasons, and the leaves, do fall, but it's never barren. Like it doesn't become just twigs the way a lot of trees do in the wintertime.
Go ahead and give me investigation.
That is a 14.
On a 14, I think what you find is in a collection of fairy tales. These are old stories told to children of, magical and wondrous places of what is known as the Age of Legends, which you can clock easily as the time before the Cataclysm. These are, largely regarded as children's stories, or tales, kept and passed down through generations to entertain children, or as lessons learned, or in the same way we would speak of Avalon and King Arthur. And there's some fairy tales about this tree, about various heroes having to retrieve things from within the branches, and all of them though start out with the usual fairy tale of once upon a time or long, long ago, there was a tree upon a cliff that was so large it held cities within its branches and nursed people within its roots and contained an empire in its roots, or some sort of thing about how large this tree was. And all of them say this particular collection of legends that has several stories that feature the tree are from Ostras. So from the let me go ahead, because there is a world map in here. So let me go ahead and put us on there. So Ostras is the continent that's to the west there. That kind of long skinny boy that has the kingdom of the sky in the center of the Ostras Empire, which is Polara. And these tales all hail from Ostras. And they all say, like, in a place to the west of Polara, or to the west of the west, in that very sort of east of the sun, west of the moon sort of way, that give like fantastical directions. But the through line seems to be that the tree was somewhere to the west of Polara. We are going to pull back as a group for the moment and let you all sort of discuss the things that you have been picking out and learning before we get to another round of research here. Basically, I, the GM, am giving you time to talk amongst yourselves for some roleplay here.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic.
Because Pertinax had asked specifically about the high wizards of the desert winds, I walk over to him and I show the journal, the small thin book, and discuss what I've learned. Like, Pertinax, you may read this at your leisure, but to summarize, it believes that the wizards of the high winds, looks like they were mentioned as world leaders at times. They're mentioned as being a lost civilization. Many great things that are discovered that are used in this age are recovered from them. It goes into detail of many different things, but unfortunately there is not much of them other than theories and things that have been discovered from their lost civilizations. No recollections from any of them directly, or books or tomes written by them have been recovered, at least according to what I have found. And I hand the book to Pertinax to peruse.
Do you think you were part of them?
I haven't the slightest. From what I read here, I don't see or have yet to understand a connection between myself and them. I was looking for perhaps descriptions, masks, physical appearances, mannerisms, form of mummification, but the literature here does not state it yet. So possibly.
I did see someone like you in my memory who talked to me, who was part of them, I think. So
you are all of the evidence that I have. And so I am choosing to believe that that is possible, yes. But maybe an initiate or something, but
real quick,
do not know.
Jaxiron, I think you hear this over exchange.
Mm-hmm.
There's a story in the back of the book about one of the fairy tales of someone having to fetch one of the winter leaves, like find the coldest winter leaf on the tree, the coldest leaf of ice, and bring it unmelted to a wizard who had given him this task in exchange for some magic object that he needed to provide to the father of the woman that he wanted to marry. It's a fairy tale. The wizard in the story that you read was described as one of the high wizards. And it doesn't say Desert Wind necessarily, but there's a drawing, actually, in this book. And it is a cloaked, masked figure standing on sand dunes with a pyramid-like structure behind him. And it looks a lot. It doesn't look like a drawing of Kazzra, but it could be. I mean,
Right.
Probably not specifically, but it is. There are similarities there.
Yeah. An illustrator could have easily looked at Kazzra and drawn this either from memory or inspirationally.
Stories, word of mouth, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot
Yeah.
of,
So what do you do with that? Do you show them?
Yeah, hearing them talk and I'm hearing them talk, and I probably somewhere in the middle of this conversation flip to this part of the book and see this, and then I who started the conversation between Pertinax and Kazzra?
I walked over to Pertinax and showed him the book and began the conversation.
Okay. So I will yell, not shout, but say, I basically just say catch and throw the book, over in Kazzra's direction.
Thump. Got it. I look at you and flip through the book and eventually come to the page that has a picture resembling me. Show it to Pertinax and say, all right, maybe 66%.
Yeah, looks, make another note and add it to my board.
I'm curious, Pertinax, your memories, were they in the desert or anywhere like that?
No, they were in a swamp, which I think is where I lived.
I will note that mine have been in a place that I believe to be dry and arid, but recovering my memories have mostly been indoors, but sand was present?
I mean, you want to stay inside. It's hot out.
Mm-hmm.
It is of concern to mummies, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if they weren't wrapped up, I mean, all that extra clothing, I can't feel.
Yeah.
I do have a thought. And it will, you were the one who was brilliant and checked the desk. Books that are hidden. Perhaps we should look for a safe or something squirreled away in perhaps the lordship's room. Maybe there are tomes of importance that are even more sensitive than the ones that you have found.
Respectfully, going through a dead man's bedroom looking for a safe. You had a point before about how things appear.
Mm-hmm.
It may be simpler to ask for that.
Yeah, I was going to suggest asking Boulder or anyone else in the household.
Yes, I think that would be good. As you had mentioned, should I need anyone who is better at talking, that I should ask. So I'm kindly asking, would you mind doing that?
Jessamine kind of checks in on you at this point, and actually with Jessamine is Bronwyn. She's cleaned up a bit, and she says, as she walks into the library, she says, hey, so I know you all have some questions that you had needed answered and things that you think you were looking at stuff. I need to get to Silver City. We need to get to Silver City. I need to tell Maddox what has occurred. We need to speak to the council. We need to testify to the council about what has occurred here before. She just kind of rubs her forehead and she says, So far, the Templars of the Order of the Sun are under Karis's command here, and they don't... no one seems to be... We've done a thorough check of the barracks and everything. Nothing seems to be carrying that same sort of corrupted magic. Nothing... There are no obvious allies that Marcus Forte had here, but that's not to say there's not. And I don't want word through the communion to reach the council before they know that there are witnesses credible witnesses. And she kind of points to herself and Jessamine, who you recall are from their families, are prominent families on the council. So they are known figures as well as Maddox. And so she's very much like, we need to get to the city. I don't want to leave you behind to make your own way. But I am leaving within the next few hours. You can feel free to take what you can reasonably carry from here of Rodri's books. Tamsin isn't going to care as long as they're returned at some point or kept in good condition. And she kind of looks at, she looks at the wizard and goes, which I'm sure they will be. So whatever you need to grab and go, I guess is what I'm saying. Is that okay with you guys?
Just a point of clarity. You seem to believe that Marcus was acting alone and that the council will find his behavior appalling?
Certainty that they will at least appear and rule in favor of finding that behavior appalling, whatever they personally think. I am less certain on the first point, but all evidence that we can find here so far, Karis is going to stay here and continue the search. But all evidence that we can find here seems to indicate that. I'm going to send Tamsin back. He's going to need to get a hold of his sister so she can fill in, so that she can take her father's role. She's been preparing for it. She's down in Sarmarin right now, so I think he should break. I need to tell Tamsin. We sent a message, so he should be back on his way here. We'll probably meet him on the road. So there will be people here in Ellis to keep looking in for any evidence. But the council, you wouldn't know this. There are tensions between Silver City and Polara, and an ocean of distance between them politically and literally. So,
how long is the distance traveled to Silver City from here? In days?
2 to 3 days.
I'd request, we were just discussing, we'd like to talk to someone in the household about seeing if there are any books kept elsewhere outside the library. If you'd wouldn't mind that we talk to someone about that and be able to take something from there.
She kind of looks around and looks at Jessamine, and Bronwyn looks to Jessamine as someone who's here more often and would know, and Jessamine kind of goes, "Books kept outside? No, I mean, he kept... Any rare volumes are going to be here, if they're not with Nylara. Sorry, that's Tamsin's sister. Nylara Serral is, next in line here, I suppose. She had similar interests to her father, so if it's not here in the library, it'd be with her. But I mean, you could certainly ask the head housekeeper if there's anything. He isn't really a secret keeper type.
That would be yes. Let's do that. I don't really want to bother her right now with questions like that.
I will bother you. Is Nylara a member of the Redeemers, overtly or covertly?
Yes.
I missed it. Where is Nylara?
Similar to, she's in Sarmar. She is
the next town over.
Similar to her father, allied with but not active.
Well, I think we can try and wrap up in the next few hours. I would prefer to travel with you. I think Silver City was a place that we had marked as where we would like to visit. But we shall discuss. Please check in on us before you do depart and let us know that you are leaving.
I am happy to escort you, and you have also been invited to stay with myself and my brother at the Commandant's lodging. So
we are thankful.
Really, I'm the one who's thankful. I didn't expect to drop you in the middle of a conflict, or potentially a war of independence. I don't know what's going to happen next, and I don't know how you are all connected, but I think it's clear to everyone that somehow you are, and that it would benefit all of us to figure out why the hell you were there. So I guess I thank you for your patience and cooperation. And she kind of turns and heads out. Jessamine says, hey, if I can help you, I'll locate a trunk for some books, so I'll help you locate whatever we can. And then we can get going.
Fair.
On a game logistics notes, we're going to do, I'm going to have you guys decide together one thing that you want to look at as you're packing stuff up, and then we're going to move the scene forward, so we're not sitting in massive lore dump land.
Got it.
So what is that one thing that you would all like to look at before you leave?
Very carefully and without disturbing things too much, I want to look through the Lordship's room. I want to look for... I believe he was targeted. I believe that his death was not just for a show of power. I think that he had knowledge, he had lore, he had rare tomes. He was killed because he knew something. This show of power was very overt. That's stuck in Kazzra's head. I want to either disprove it and move on or find some evidence. And if we're not finding it here in books or in study, then I'd like to search another place that's more personal where he might be keeping some secrets or something that got him killed. So I want to look through his room.
Okay, well, Kazzra goes and searches through Rodri's underwear drawer. Is there anything that...
I was this close to saying I want to look through the underwear drawer of the dead lord to Bronwyn, but then I stopped because I remembered Pertinax is going to do it. And I was like, no.
Is there anything the other three of you wish to look at in the library before you go?
Oh, sorry. One of the things is that I do note to everybody is I let them know I'm looking, but should I find anything, I'm very curious to search for the word world shapers. And if there's anyone who has something that they do not know what they would like to search for, volumes on that may be of some importance to us.
I agree with this. I think this is really important, and I think this is... Since we know that we all are this, we should find out more about it, and I think this is also why we should be staying together right now. I am also going to accompany Kazzra because... less because I want to poke through the Lord's underwear drawer, and more because I think I'm going to be better at doing this without getting in trouble than Kazzra is, and he might need some assistance from, out of character, someone with good dexterity.
And charisma, potentially.
Oh yes, most certainly that.
Try to keep us from getting caught and talk us out of it if we are, yeah.
Smart.
Are we not going to at least speak to Boulder as the housekeeper?
Yeah, let's do this first.
Oh, Boulder.
Boulder's
okay.
the druid who lives in the garden.
Okay. At least try to talk to him.
There is another housekeeper who's just an older elven woman.
Yeah, just ask her, are there any books that the Lord might have kept that were sensitive, or records that might be relative to our investigation? I think would be a nice way to put it.
Oh, I mean...
Perhaps we should indicate in the room specifically.
In his room? No, he was very clear about separation of life and work. All of anything pertaining to the running and his official duties are all in his study, and then his sort of pastime were all kept within the library. I've not seen anything elsewhere. But if you, I don't know, maybe you can, she says, maybe you can find something in his room to take to his son with him, if nothing else.
That would be, yes.
Walks away.
Was there, the desk that you searched, was that in the study or was that in the library? I did not know those were separate places. Have we only been searching in the library and not checked the study at all?
The study is sort of an alcove of the library.
Okay. It was all one thing. We were all looking at it. Just wanted to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, good to clarify.
Sounds then like Pertinax, we've been given a green light, but should also keep an eye out for something to take to the young lad.
Go ahead and give me investigation checks.
21.
And an unnatural 20 over here.
Well, Eldritch 20, yeah.
Unnatural.
Eldritch 20. I like
Eldritch
that.
20. And a 21. Cool. Was that but that wasn't a nat 20 roll.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a 19 plus 1.
Yeah. I can see Pertinax's. I couldn't.
I got a 16.
Fine. Cool. So yeah, no, you do a thorough check of the room. You do not find anything of the sort of nature that Kazzra was thinking. So under the bed you find a plain wooden box. And it's not locked. And contained within it are a lock of kind of baby soft, curly, dark hair bound in a red ribbon. You find a couple different colored small shoes. You find a cloth bag that contains, a couple loose baby teeth. And there are paintings and drawings and mementos of childhood. And these are very clearly from Tamsin and Nylara to their gifts to their father on various things and various mementos of their childhood, kept in a safe place. And there's also a silver locket that has a painted miniature of a beautiful elven woman. And there's also a stack, again bound up in a red ribbon, of letters. And these are letters kept, a correspondence spanning many years between Rodri and his late wife. A lot of it is there's a lot of love between them. A lot of it is expressed, sometimes passionately, sometimes in that more sort of staid, comfortable love that comes from a couple who spent a long time together. There's various stories of children within it, of, humorous tales of, when they were a part of, like, your son did this, and yes, well, our daughter, your daughter, yes, my son, in various tales of childhood gone by. And through it all, you get the impression that his wife, Asa was a scholar. And Asa was also a wizard. And there's a lot of her theories and a lot of argument between them. There's a lot of debate between them about the nature of the High Wizards of the Desert Wind. With Asa coming down on the theory that they were much like the Order of the Golden Dome is today. They were just a wizard school. It was an order of wizards. Very, very powerful wizards. And wizards who had outposts at various different places, much as the Golden Dome does have, satellite academies. And that this is in fact where the Golden Dome and Polara got its inspiration to emulate. There are folk tales that she's collected from little villages and stuff about that echo, our son's favorite fairy tale book about the great tree And she says, a lot of accounts here say it's to the north. So it might be somewhere in the Great Bays to the east of Palara, to the north of Altera. Maybe there was a really big tree once upon a time.
So I've got an idea. Wizard, researcher. If I may, I use ritual. I cast detect magic and I see if there's anything hidden or magical in the room. 30-foot area. I go around and I see maybe she had something that he's keeping away under a floorboard, and I'm seeing if there's anything that pops and pings.
There is not.
Okay.
Also, loot for magic items and stuff too. So.
Well,
what?
Yes, could do that. Might not loot, magic. Who am I kidding? I absolutely would.
You absolutely
Kazzra would.
Plus 3 sword. Hold on.
Plus 3 sword. Wait a minute. Yeah, no. Yeah.
Both Kazzra and Campbell would. Don't lie to me.
Yes, yeah, both Kazzra and Campbell most certainly would.
A holy adventure. Yeah. What do we do with this?
But it was just my thought. Like, all right, so I'm trying to piece together things. If she was a wizard and she studied and they're talking, Jax has already found the fairy tale book. So okay. I looked at Pertinax. Do we take the whole little box, or do we just take one thing from it to give to Tenson? Which one do we do? Not good at this. Do you think that'd be?
We take the box, but we're going to have time to make notes and copy anything from the letters that we want to on the trip.
Took all this box of your dead dad's stuff. It's okay.
After turning the room, finding nothing else about world shapers, I suppose. But
we're taking the box to his kids.
I think that'll do it for us,
right.
Or myself at least.
Yeah,
Pertinax can still
go. Will and Jax, is there anything that you want to do before you leave?
Will is taking the opportunity not to look for world shaper stuff at all, figuring that other folks have that in hand, and was going to see what he could glean about the origin of the collective and the people who were, doing some freaky experiments to us, or rather, we're doing freaky experiments next to us.
That's a good idea.
What sorts of things they're getting up to, who their allies are, that kind of thing. Again, doesn't have the research, doesn't have the intellect for the big questions, but people he gets, and understanding like who these people are, who their allies are, what their deal is.
Go ahead and both of you roll me investigation.
Let me instead, if we're both rolling on the same topic, I'll assist and give advantage rather than rolling myself.
I mean, I think you're looking for two separate things.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So then what is Jaxie rolling for?
The storytellers and the keepers, like that class or a group of people in the role that they once played in society, whether they still exist, especially like having read that fairy tale book. It's like, okay, like some amount of this is still the flavor of this responsibility is still here. Where is it, like, how has it persisted through time?
I will let you know that if World Shapers is still something that I want to look for in the library, so I will do my best to delay Bronwyn by an hour with as much charisma and that I can to look for
it. There's a couple mentions of it, like, so Will went and made a stack of books based on Rodri's journals. So this is stuff that you're going to be taking with you that we can get to as we move forward.
We'll take the books.
Will, you...
First roll was a 14, second roll was a dirty 1.
So 2 minus 1, yeah. An eldritch 1. So there's nothing. But on that 14, you do recall, as you look and don't find anything, you're not even in Rodri's journals, it takes you a minute, but then you're not surprised because you recall both Bronwyn and Maddox and even Jessamine saying that they were a secret organization.
Yeah.
So you're
I
not
just figured since he was sort of Redeemer associated that they may have been like, hey, there's a weird science cult living underground that we need to go deal with. And you're like, oh, my kids' friends were telling me about the weird science death cult.
Yeah.
Figured it might have come up. Yeah.
Not exactly like that. Like it's you get that more. It's more
Just
of an analog.
Weird death cult. The order, man. Yeah. Gotcha.
That you got the impression from them that they had pieced together information based on rumors and things that they had overheard and caught here and there in shadowy corners. More of like what people think the Hellfire Club was, right?
Yeah. The Red Queen. Hold
on. Jax, what was your role?
12.
It's not that hard to find references to storytellers. This is an institution that actually still exists. You actually will read, there's another volume of folktales and fairy tales. And this is more of an academic collection of it rather than a book written for children. And you actually will note that the surname of the author of this tome is Cyril. It's an Asa Cyril. And in this volume, there is a preface. In this preface, it is listed that after the cataclysm and the disasters and the floods and the fires and the earthquakes and things destroyed so much of the world, the institution of the Story Keepers, the origin of which has been long lost to time, but there were a group of people, these storytellers and keepers, who were known to go from place to place to preserve knowledge and stories and law, and their methods of doing so did not rely on the written word, and thus are often discredited and into the realm of story and myth. Although this scholar notes that she studied their methods of memorization, and it is to the point where it is almost certain that while things always change over time, that these stories probably have more core truth to them than a lot of written records. Written records, she notes, can be changed to suit whoever wrote them. These methods of memorization are so rigorous and so intrinsic to the organization of story keepers to begin with that such changes are few and far between, of what she has noted. And she says that while obviously no one is immune to bias, she would actually trust the account of a trained story keeper above many of the written tomes from academic institutions. The next few hours are spent packing everything up, getting everything together, and heading out of Ellis. We're all loaded up onto a cart, very similar to how you arrived and how you've been transported around so far, and you are leaving out the same city gates and leaving behind this beautiful city with this pall of darkness holding around it. And as you pass through the market square, you see there are people sweeping up ashes and cleaning storefronts and standing around talking to each other and offering comfort. And there are some people who are walking around with big trays of baked goods and mugs of ale and things, going neighbor to neighbor to pass out, these goods. And there's this air of recovery from tragedy and that you are leaving behind. And I think for a moment, all of you kind of reflect on the fact that so far you keep leaving behind scenes of chaos through no direct action of your own, but that that seems so far to be a through line. The first leg of the journey is quiet and honestly spent largely in silence while everybody sort of has time to process all that has happened. I will say there are opportunities for conversation about the cataclysm. There's opportunities for you to look through books and find information about shapers. And real quick, I'll just summarize what that is without having to go through rules. The cataclysm, no one knows what caused it. But there was known to be a brightness in the sky that was almost blinding. And the sound of a great explosion. And the sky turned orange. There were several eruptions of volcanoes. There were earthquakes. There were, in real life terms, this is like some real day after tomorrow stuff. Like there's, it was like Krakatoa and the Big One and Yellowstone, like just several like apocalyptic level disasters that happened. And she said like there's theories of like that it was something fell from the sky and impacted the world, and nobody honestly has any idea, only that it was a time of great upheaval and disasters and floods and fires and various things. And in the wake of that, it was many civilizations fell, and lots of records were lost, various things. So it was this time of disaster. And in the wake of that, a civilization sort of banded together in these pockets and things. And in the wake of that, there were the Wars of Ascension, which was a time, from what you gather in this history, is just a time of several different, political upheaval, like a very Iron Age Britain, right? Or Iron Age Europe, of people moving different places, people who are displaced moving different places, and then that causes conflict, as it always does, over resources. And so they're called the Wars of Ascension because at the end of those Wars of Ascension, Polara emerged as sort of a victory in the region in the south of the world, and stopped, as they emerged as a dominant military force. And Polara then sort of in decades following established an empire, and then this empire was dealing with the Elven Empire, and that's when the Beast of the Chasm rose, and then that's history from there.
That sequencing is interesting. I thought that the Beast of the Chasm were the cataclysm, like that was part and parcel, right?
They are not. They're separate. They're separate by a long time.
That is really interesting.
There are accounts, Jessamine, as you're going through this and posturing this, Jessamine says, there are accounts of some of the creatures that emerged from the chasm appearing in the world after the cataclysm. But the chasm itself appeared 500 years ago.
Oh. That explains a couple of questions that I hadn't. Got it.
Yeah. The chasm itself and the horde that was unleashed from within the chasm appeared 500 years ago.
Was the chasm?
The chasm is actually on the map. It is to the actual west this time. I got my direction right. West of the Sarin Mountains.
Oh, that.
Yes. The great big canyon on the map.
The big ass scar chopping up the Terrath and Great Salt Flats. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah, yep. Neat. But it's closed now? Or there's not beasts coming out of it now?
There are not.
Good question.
the entry point was magically sealed somehow by Eos Tereth and yeah.
I recall that discussion on the first wagon ride to the copse of trees.
I had conflated all of those things together, and I was very confused about the timeline. So that's really helpful.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that happens. No, the original triad, it was General Aether Garen, Darius Alameth, the first Polaran Empire and Emperor, and or the first Emperor of the Ostruth Empire, where the Polaran Empire expanded into Ellis.
That also explains why I was confused by Eos Tereth being a member of the Ward of the Stars. I'm like, wait a minute, that existed 5,000 years ago? No, it was 500 years ago, idiot. Cool, good time.
Right. That is the recent calamity, while the cataclysm was the 5,000 the old calamity is old,
which may
calamity
also
and new
have
calamity.
Recent calamity,
right?
In some form or fashion.
Correct. Yeah,
Cool.
I feel the same. I think we understand.
Yeah, Eos Tereth, and yes.
Neat.
So, and then the World Shapers are referred to only as this mysterious organization of near godlike power that disappeared after the cataclysm. There's a lot of lore and stories that are almost angry in tone of why did the gods abandon us after the cataclysm? And it's common lore that you find throughout these books is basically when the gods left Urus and took their beloved with them. That the gods left and took the World Shapers with them. And the World Shapers were known to have sort of a council that was very much like in modern terms, kind of equates to a UN. They mediated international disputes and stuff like that. There are references to them that still survive throughout history, and the story keepers tell tales of the council and the World Shapers. And no one quite knows how they did what they did or what specifically they did. There are there's a lot of speculation that they were just like clerics who were favored clerics or chosen of the gods who, were able to intercede for mortality to the divine.
Or maybe just plucky dragon people.
So it was not clear, but what is clear is that the World Shapers and the council and everything are part of what was lost in the cataclysm. Or at least in the aftermath of the cataclysm. That's the timing there is not clear in any of the records. So those are the things you were looking at as you were traveling.
Copy.
So that sort of discussed around that first campfire.
I'm starting to form a theory.
During the first night, there was something I would like to do as well, but I'm curious, Pertinax, what is your theory? I like theories.
Maybe the chamber we all woke up in was prepared for us in case of something happening, or we knew that something was coming. We were put down there with things that would kill anyone else that tried to disturb us. Put down there for safekeeping for now or some other time that maybe nobody ever got back to us.
See, Kazzra, you are important. You're the breaking case of glass rescue operation.
We all are, Will.
I mean,
Four of us selected for reasons. We all have different skill sets. Still not sure about the mimic. Haven't figured out that one.
I want you to
other
understand
than the mimic.
how broken my brain is, because in my head played the theme to Rescue Rangers, Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers, but it was Rescue Wizard. Rescue Wizard.
Thanks. It's in mine now. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Going anywhere.
I don't believe you're correct, but I hope you're correct.
It's a nice thought. It's a better thought than a lot of other things.
I like this a lot. That's so much nicer than all the things running through my head.
I also don't love that we maybe got forgotten down there if that was the case, but who knows?
Being forgotten in that scenario is not so bad. It's not great, but...
Bronwyn kind of like stares at you all as she's just like stirring a pot of travel rations, which is basically pottage. It's grain and whatever vegetables are handy and stuff all thrown in and seasoned. Like, it's tasty. It's basically savory oatmeal to our senses today.
I take out a napkin, open it up, and it's all of the cheeses and things that were set out for the Lord's house that we didn't eat. I collected them and took them with us. So I just start chewing, snacking on those, and hand the napkin out if anybody else would like some.
Yeah, Jessamine sits next to you, and she kind of leans over. She's like, I'm trying so hard not to stare. And I want you to reward this effort with acknowledgement.
You are acknowledged.
Thank you.
Tonight, I would like to summon my familiar, if I can.
Okay.
So as a ritual. So it is just a scarab beetle. So it's a bat, but scarab. So just different appearance. Different. It's a bat. Yeah.
So if you're right, Pertinax, how would we validate that? And also, what should we be doing now? Because I like to think that you're right. Like, let's act on that assumption.
Yeah, I think maybe there may have been an assumption that we would have our memories, or we might be missing an instruction manual somewhere.
Yeah, past us was really bad at leaving notes, apparently.
Someone was.
Which you'd think, given the wizard with writing literally on his body, that we would have had something more vis-a-vis instructions.
It even makes more sense that perhaps whatever happened, if this is something that we did to ourselves, we didn't know this would be a side effect. But then that brings up an idea. If there's not a manual or something to indicate what's supposed to happening in our place, Jessamine, you've stopped this collective before. Were there other crystal caverns than just the one that you found us in?
There were laboratories and secret places where they were experimenting with source crystals. And it's general knowledge that other places with source crystals exist, but they're scarce, they're rare. And
I imagine people are warned away from them because they're dangerous.
Knowledge is kept, for security. Matic knows where a couple are. They do not all coincide with collective research, but this one did, with an established collective base. Or they do not all. If Matic knows about their location, the collective knows, because we believe the collective is connected to the council, and Matic knows because of his seat on the council. Like I said, there weren't all established collective research areas, but that's not to say that there hasn't been activity. We've not been able to get very close to a few of them. And we certainly haven't looked under them. But Matic would be able to tell you more. There's also a research library in Silver City that's part of the outpost of the Golden Dome, which is the order of spellcasters I belong to. It's wizards and sorcerers and various magic users. So we will be able to know. We'll be able to look further into it when we get to the city. I want to wrap that first night there for us in the interest of time.
Cast alarm.
Of course. Wizard does wizard shit.
Wizard does wizard shit. Preps the campsite.
Jessamine stretches and just like, oh God, yeah, that's nice. That's nice to have. She kind of nudges Brian, like, I keep telling you need to learn. I'm not learning magic. Gives me a stomachache. No.
Wait, what magic did you have to learn? Hold on a second. He says to Jessamine, wait, hold on. What magic did you have to learn? It sounded like you just sort of figured it out.
I do, but I
learned
in
books.
I study the theory and the reasons why I can do what I can do.
What is the reason why you can do what you can do?
She kind of
it's in the blood, right?
She says it's instinct and will for me. But other people can do very similar things through study, and so why that is has always been a subject of interest.
Anyway.
Yeah, she and Kazzra both will basically act as a soporific and help you go to sleep, expounding upon magic theory. How magic is generated by life, and how there's different methods of tapping into that force and just... So the next day, probably about midday, you have passed the area in which the Ellis River kind of dips down. There's the caverns that you had been in were in this sort of cliff face, and you get the sense that there's just a whole area of rivers that run down from the Saran Mountains. And in this area of there's an area where the landscape transitions to a more from the sediment rich farmland to the more the granite outcroppings, and you are definitely moving a little up in elevation. Not super far, but up in elevation. In real terms, it's very similar to the kind of Piedmont here, where Great Falls is, essentially. Right, you have this area on the east coast of the United States where all the rivers have built up sediment over time into this rich land on the coast, and so that is you're transitioning from that sediment-rich farmland up into the older rocky hills, foothills, and forests and things like that dot the landscape leading up to the Saran Mountains. You can start to see the Saran Mountains in the distance, and there's only a handful of rocky top in the distance. Most of the Saran Mountains is akin to the Appalachian Mountains here, where they're big and big ridges, and they're definitely mountains. But you don't see any snow-capped peaks in the distance. There's no there's some kind of bald mountaintops and things like that you can see where the granite bedrock has been thrust up over time and exposed and worn down. But overall, it's a very old mountain range. And so you can start to see those sort of off in the distance. And as you come into an area where you're kind of moving around foothills and various terrain, you actually start moving into the road takes a path through a valley. And Jessamine kind of looks back at you and goes, "This is actually mine and Bronwyn's kind of favorite area. It's really pretty. You have to be careful this time of year because sometimes there's some landslides and things caused by melting ice. But it's a really pretty valley." And you go in, and it's an area that is, imagine if New River Gorge in West Virginia kind of dried up, like the river dried up. And it's a valley that is a very deep gorge of a valley. And the road passes through the kind of center of it. And it's kind of narrow in terms of a lot of valleys that you've passed through so far have been much wider and bigger. And this one is a little more narrow. I mean, there's plenty of space on either side of the road and things. And you can see actually some remnants of rock slides and some of the, there's a term for that my mind is blanking on, but some of the gravel and stuff that has fallen, the detritus and things that have come down from a rock slide. But there's, the road is still, it's very well kept. It's very often traveled. This is the most common road from Silver City to Ellis. And Jessamine turns back and says, "There's actually a really cool, speaking of ancient things, there's a really cool ruin up ahead. And it's kind of crazy because it's made of this material and no one can figure out how they made this. It's like this kind of somewhere between stone and glass, like it's translucent, but it has a consistency that's more like glass. And it's right around this bend, and she points up, and there's on either side what look like arches that have been broken. Like it looks like the beginning of a massive, massive bridge, an old bridge. And she says it's thought that there were like cities and fortifications on either side of this, but they've long been crumbled and the stone, looted out and used to build other houses. And, like no one around here leaves good building material to waste. But they couldn't really move this material or figure out what to do with it. And so like it still kind of stands in this kind of broken ends of an arch. Will, I'm going to need you to make a
Make a what say?
Wisdom.
11.
Okay. The sudden cognitive dissonance does not make you pass out.
Good.
But I think you feel really dizzy.
Yeah, about to say, yeah.
Because you are seeing double vision at this moment.
I'm standing where maybe my feet touched the ground when I was thrown off a bridge for half a second there. Many years ago.
It is... The horizon is almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
Of an area where your head breached water and you looked up, you find yourself probably, I don't know if you're on the cart or walking beside the cart for a moment. But
probably walking, yeah.
I would think, yeah. You are looking up at the same angle.
Yeah.
And almost the same height, actually, because the sediment built up over time. But it is, even then, these mountains were old. And all this is just overgrown. But this section of bridge, it's the same.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same. This is the bridge you were thrown off of when you were a child. And that's where we end this episode.
Oh, emotional damage incoming. Will and Pertinax are still at odds, and we have a box of children's hair and teeth. This seems on par with our adventures to this point. Join us next time on The Broken World as we investigate these ruins vital to Will's past and continue our journey to Silver City.